You want to do the intros? I gotta turn the volume down here before
Yeah, yeah.
wake up my
Oh,
neighbors.
are we live, everybody?
We're
Are we
live.
live? All right. Good morning on this beautiful Wednesday. Just currently 10 past the hour of 10 a.m. on this beautiful Wednesday. Mr. Aiden Bell and I are visiting you, connecting, trying to share our stories, share our knowledge via
Remotely.
an online, via remote source. Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, because
Um,
we were in each other's bubbles, but now that we're in a red zone,
can't really
guess
risk
guess
that.
not, eh?
Yeah, no, and I'm really upset about it, because it was one of those things that I was looking forward to, like every Wednesday, just being able to come over, hang out, have a little coffee in the morning, do the
Yeah,
good.
yeah, me too, man. Like it was the only thing that happened my week.
Yeah.
I obviously I was working, hard and putting up with lots of things, but it was like it was the one thing that happened during the week. Like otherwise, I was just in my room, like at my computer.
Hmm. Yeah.
So you'd
It,
come
like I
over
feel like
Wednesday morning, we'd do the show, and then we'd usually hang out for a bit. Like we built you a PC, we like just hang
hmm
out and shoot the
hmm
shit, or excuse my French.
yeah.
Yeah,
But for me too, I feel like now that we're not going to be able to, hang out any, let alone like any day, but Wednesday specifically, I feel like I'm going to actually start realizing, how much kind of, solace I had in that few hours that we'd hang out every Wednesday, and I haven't realized what it's going to do to me not having that. But yeah, man,
yeah.
like I feel like this lockdown is going to be. Do you think it's going to be worse than the first one? I think it might.
I think so because I think the first one, everyone was like, "Oh my God, this is real," and they all
Yeah,
followed the rules, and now everyone's tired of it. I think
yeah.
everyone's kind of
Everyone's
like,
fed up.
"Yeah, okay," like, and
Yeah,
even us,
I keep seeing.
like in the beginning, we were like sanitizing all our groceries as they came in the door, and we're still doing that, but I feel like we're the only ones still doing it.
Actually, I might attest to that because I've been seeing tweets nonstop that are people just putting out like, why is it that coronavirus seems so much worse now that I've stopped, sanitizing my groceries? Question mark. Like just indicating that everybody's stopped, taking those precautions as they should not have done.
Yeah.
Hence, second pandemic. Yeah, I think people like are just gonna, kind of not like I don't want to say retaliate because that's pretty aggressive, but I feel like people are just gonna care a lot less.
Yeah, and
They're
there's
just
even
fed up.
like there's
People are irritated.
stupid stuff. Like we were just talking about this before we went live, but the fact that, Peel and Toronto are in red zone lockdown, but York isn't. It's like I have a
Yeah,
car,
and
like what's stopping me from going
yeah,
doing my weekly Value Village thrift up in York? Like I do that anyway cuz there's
or
parking up there.
if you work, yeah, if you work at York too, or if you work anywhere near there, that's like, what are you gonna do?
Yeah, exactly. Like
You still have to go up there all the time.
well, that's already my point is that that's already what I was doing. Cuz I'd hop in the
Yeah,
car and I'd
yeah,
drive to where there was free parking.
right. Oh, that's true, man.
Yeah.
And the mall too. Like it's gonna be, and for this month too, Yorkdale is going to be, if it's open at all or in any respect, it's gonna be freaking popping.
York's got to be like on the border between Toronto and
Yorkdale,
York.
though.
Yeah, Yorkdale
Yeah,
Mall.
yeah.
Like, is it in York region or is it in Toronto?
Oh, that I might have made it silly. Maybe that's actually a good point. I just kind of assumed
I
that
actually don't know. I'm
Yorkdale.
asking. Like, our work is right by Yorkdale. What's our work doing?
Yeah, we're
Where I
open. We're
you
still,
guys are open?
yeah, yeah. Everything's still full fledged.
Okay.
Um, so then I
Curbside
assume that
pickup
York.
or is it
I think just standard. I'm
just
not
open?
sure. I haven't been in since the second phase of lockdown, but I assume that's like just from the text that I've gotten from work. That's what I gathered that we're doing. Just same, same, but different.
Yeah.
It like for people that like need to work though, people that need to eat, and we'll get to certain aspects of eating with the general topic of our show. But people that got to eat and work, man, like how are people gonna make money right now?
Right?
Yeah, like I
You
just
know, like, and I don't think Serb's going anymore. It's CRB now, and that's only if you're
right.
a contract
Well, and
worker or
so
something like that.
so many people too. Like once like the first wave of lockdown kind of like eased up a bit. People like the last few weeks, people have been out. Things have been open, like sidewalk restaurants and stuff. Blah blah blah. But now, like, I feel like a lot of people, since that started opening up, people just kind of stopped, taking the money from the government, got their jobs back, or got new and simpler ones, and just kind of, felt the relief of the first wave being over without the expectance of the second wave even coming. So I think a lot of people just kind of put their chips into, oh, like I can have a job now.
Something that I
But
can attest to is how crazy it got, like just out after the announcement was made, right? Because like I was
yeah,
out that Friday, I was doing a little bit of shopping, right? And it's like it just like after the announcement came out, like I got a ping on my phone or whatever that we were going back into lockdown. Like I could see the droves of panic shoppers. Like I was at Home Depot, and just immediately it went from like a lineup of like three people at the cash register to like going all the way around the perimeter of the store. And then we
oh
were going
my
to stop by
gosh,
Best Buy to pick up a cable, and Best Buy was like lined up to get in all the way around like the side of the building. Like it was crazy.
like
And it's just like
from
as
the
soon as
Best
that,
Buy to the H&M.
yeah,
Holy,
pretty much. And as soon as that, it wasn't that Best Buy. It was one up north, like I was saying,
oh,
because I
okay,
drive because parking, you know. Um,
correct, my bad.
but it was just like as soon as that notification hit people's phones, they're like, "Ah, crap!" And then, you know, and like I was talking
Yeah,
to the roomies after, and we were saying that like, "Oh my God, it's gonna be like, there's gonna be 20,000 cases linked to that announcement day," you know?
yeah, yep. It's gonna be like an influx just for the one
Yeah.
day. We're gonna see like a 30%
And we
at
were
least, I
debating
think.
going out and doing some shopping and like enjoying our last 2 days of freedom, like
Yeah.
after the announcement came out, and we were like, "Nah, not worth, not worth."
Well, that's what my plan was. Like this Saturday, it was a huge sporting event for the UFC and fighting. And like I wanted to go out, and kind of do a last like hurrah. But man, it just eerie. Felt bad about, thinking about doing it.
Yeah, for
Like
real.
I didn't. Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know how a lot of people are like so against it. I feel like it's not a matter of, intelligence or like wanting to do certain things a certain way to keep everybody else safe, for the greater good of humanity. But it's just like when people get mad, it becomes so individually personal. Like when you're irritated beyond a certain extent, it seems like the thought processes of a lot of the people in our friggin' population are just like not true to what they usually would be, just given the fact that everybody's so irritated. It's like we're like lab rats, just displaying signs of weird psychology because we're in such an odd state.
I think it's just exhaustion, man. Just sheer exhaustion. Everyone's so fed up. Everyone just wants everything to go back to normal. But like
Hmm.
the more we lock down, the sooner it can go back to normal, you know?
Exactly,
But
exactly.
like
People just
I'm
yeah,
feeling that too, man. Like I had wished that we had tapered it off, maybe did curbside pickup a little bit earlier and then kept more stuff open,
yeah,
you know? Um, yeah, because honestly, like, hanging out with you on Wednesday and then like going like for a Saturday thrift with like Lila and Amber and Hayden, like that was the only things keeping me going, you know?
yeah.
And now it's
Like
just clamped down. Anyways, you want to pivot to our topic of the
yeah,
week?
let's pivot. So yeah, people need to eat during COVID. It's hard for people to make money. Ethically? Question mark. Yeah, it's a difficult squeeze. But you got to eat. And a
Gotta eat.
lot of the reason that our 7 billion person population now on this earth is able to do so, um, and I'm gonna correct myself because nowhere near 7 billion people are able to eat every day, and as they should be. Um, but for the small percentages of people that are fortunate enough to be able to eat, a lot of us are eating consuming those gosh darn GMOs, man. Those GMOs.
Yeah.
So quick little you know like background
Did you
on
do your
GMOs. So
research,
like
Ev?
oh yeah, I had like a general outline and idea because based on like where we both grew up on farms, like
Yeah. Where'd you get your
GMOs
information
were.
from? Liberalcuck.biz? No?
I got a lot of mine from like the food project, and I
Yeah.
got the non-GMO organization. It's like a kind of like a fund to end GMO use. So I
Okay.
just kind of got the best of both worlds. But from our perspectives, like
Soyboy.net.
the yeah, yeah, I saw the Soy Boy one, or this one
Really?
called something like,
Oh my
no,
god.
it's not soyboy.net, but it's like it was like soy something, but it wasn't. It sounded similar. It wasn't
Okay.
anything similar actually. Um, but okay, so just quickly, like, what are GMOs for our listeners? A GMO, or genetically modified organism, is a plant, animal, or any microorganism or other organism whose genetic makeup has been modified in a laboratory setting using genetic engineering to transgenic technology to either create um, larger growth in certain areas of organisms, or to create different growth or smaller growth, and vice versa. Basically, manufacturing plant's ability to either be bigger, therefore more mass, therefore more protein and consumption in food in general, and also just on a production scale, can really, really like radically increase the rate at which plants grow, or just food in general, chickens, cows. But Aiden, we grew up on farms. We've had a view towards certain GMO use. Um, I feel like for both of us for a while that wasn't really like negatively looked at, because a lot of like the push for certain like crop farmers specifically, like a lot of our neighbors on our farms, crop farmers would be really heavily encouraged to use GMOs for a long time. But now I feel like in the last 10 years, it's kind of been this kick on really pure, naturally sourced, ethically sourced goods to be consumed, which I agree with.
But like,
But I feel like there's got to be like that fine line.
yeah, like I think my take on it is I think they're a good thing. First of all, hold up, log me in's bugging me. Don't
Oh,
disconnect. Okay. Whoa, that's got to be trippy. Okay. Um, sorry, I did the expose thing, but because I'm using like a screen
yeah.
recorder on you, it just like moved you and showed a bit of my background there. Yeah, I'm seeing it happen
Oh,
on the YouTube
geez.
stream over there. Sorry about that, folks. Um, I
Break
think
the fourth
they're
wall.
a good thing, right? So
Mm,
I think people see like non-GMO labels and stuff like that, like gluten free. Like I think people don't know what it is, and because it's there, people are like, oh, I'm not supposed to have gluten. I'm not supposed to have GMOs. You know,
mm,
like they see the label on their pack of crisps, Crispix or whatever, and they're like, oh man, I should be avoiding
yeah.
that, and but they never actually like learn what it is in the first place. I think
Well,
they're a tool because like we're talking about a world that can't feed most of its population. You know,
we're in a finite. We live on a finite planet.
yeah, finite resources,
Yeah.
but we're populations are increasing and stuff like that. If we can change the way we farm and get crop yields up to 99%, then that's amazing. And then
Hmm.
the other thing too, I think people are worried about it for the me reason, which is like, oh no, it's gonna give me cancer or something like that. It's well, like it's a tomato with an apple gene in it. You eat a tomato, you eat an apple. Like what?
Yeah.
First of all, like they're proven to be
Well.
safe through the FDA. And then
Hmm.
I think people that see the larger picture are worried about these super crops escaping farms, and then you have
Right.
this like essentially an invasive species that we've created that takes over forests and stuff like that. But most of them are they buy the fertilized seeds from Monsanto or whoever, and they go and they plant them, and they then like the plants are modified to not be able to reproduce. So that uh, solves that problem first of all, and second of all, it keeps
Hmm.
Monsanto's lights on, which I don't know if I agree with because Monsanto is kind of a terrible corporation. They've done a lot of bad things, but
Who hasn't
yeah,
in this day and
that's
age?
my hot
Well,
take. That's my hot take.
yeah.
I also want to pop off on gluten free. Okay,
Yes,
pisses
please.
me off
Gotta have
because
gluten.
well, it's just like people don't understand what it is. Like I had a friend that I had celiac disease or whatever, and I remember like we were like 4 or 5 at the time, and she hated pizza. She's like makes me sick, and I'm like, what do you mean? Everyone loves pizza. Found out a year or two later she's got a gluten intolerance, and I'm like, okay. And it sucks for her because like at that time there was nothing gluten free, so they were ordering her food out of a out of a catalog. Like this is like
Mm,
I guess this was like early days of the internet. Like our family didn't have internet. We stole Wi-Fi from the neighbor.
right,
Um,
right.
but
That's awesome.
yeah, so like I guess it's good that there's so many gluten-free options for those people, but it just bugs me when people are like, "Oh, sorry, I'm gluten-free." And I'm like, "Well, do you have celiac disease?" No. It's like,
You
"Why are
know,
you gluten-free?"
yeah.
Like,
It,
"Oh, it
do you know what?
makes my dick fall off," like the South Park episode.
Yeah, yeah. Well, hey, if yeah, that's there's like certain. Okay, this is one thing I wanted to say. Like on that point, so many people I find like one thing I get annoyed about is so many people will look at certain products or certain like they'll only look at the meat, only look at their meat for MGMO or for GMO, excuse me,
Yeah.
or they'll only look at really sugary products.
Yeah.
But dude, almost every
It's like
article
you
I've read on
see
this, experts estimate nearly 80% of every single food, every single item that can be consumed in the US, 80% of all of those items contain ingredients that come from genetically engineered crops, like plant-based, meat-based, and like other protein-based foods. 80%, dude.
just
All of it. Like,
I remember going to the
it's,
grocery store with my roomie and we looked at the meat aisle and there was a steak that said gluten free. And I'm like, yeah, I hope
oh
so.
my God.
It's
Yeah,
just like,
like,
come on,
jeez.
people. Oh my God.
It just shows you like the lack of understanding and knowledge pertaining to like what's what and what's actually like really bad for you and what's like okay and what you know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
just it's nutty. People need to like get back to I hear let me ask you this. I think in a lot of ways certain people need to get back to hunting, but in a way that would allow like these people that are hunting to actually like invest and gain their consumption in terms of food and protein in hunting rather than like you hunt and you buy from the group. You know what I mean? You should do one or the other for like majority of things. But if you shoot a white-tailed deer that's 120 pounds, that's your meat for almost a year if you have a family of three.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it like there's I think in a lot of ways I'd like to see a lot of people get back into like actual hunting, growing their own crops if they can. Because just it being more self-sustaining, especially in this time, it's something that everybody should be thinking about.
Well, I feel like
I,
I've
I, I think.
touched on this on the previous episodes, but I remember driving around with my mom at 11 or 12 and she just turns to me and is like, "Yeah, your dad and I don't like how reliant on society we are." And I was just kind of like, what? But even like later on, my friends, Chris and Abbas, shout out, are like, yeah, if your parents told me they had a school bus or a shipping container buried in the backyard, just full of like survival supplies and like guns and, like just a little like homemade bunker, they'd be like, yeah,
Yeah.
you know?
Oh, dude.
But
Yeah, I would not.
going to your point about the deer, that's what my parents do with the cows, right? So
Right.
they
Yeah.
have a couple of cows at a time, like two or three, and they, feed them corn, whatever, and then they pay to have them butchered. They don't do the butchering themselves so that they can legally sell. Because you can butcher it
Right.
yourself if you're going to eat it yourself, but if you want to sell it, you have to have a licensed guy,
Professionally. Yeah.
professionally
Right.
done. So yeah, so people don't get infected.
Does that pertain to like you could? Is that like a really strict sense of like you cannot exchange this product if you cut it yourself for any form of currency, or if it's that's like if you want to sell it out of a store, like you could sell. I could be like I could cut it myself and sell it to my mates. I wouldn't sell it, but
Um,
is it like legally strict like that, or is it just pertaining to kind
I
of
think
like
it is quite
you know?
legally strict, but I think if, my mom's friend woke up in the morning and there was half a cow on her front step that we had butchered, I think my mom would get me a
Yeah.
transfer. That's what I'll say. You know?
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how we do it. That's how we do it out in the
Yeah.
bush.
Yeah. But like pertaining it to your point about the white-tailed deer is that it's essentially zero sum for us, but like we make a profit through having just a dead cow in the freezer, right? So we
Right.
generally keep a whole
Right.
cow for ourselves and then sell the other one off. And that selling that one off, even though we're selling it to friends at like a stupid good deal, um, covers
You're making
yeah, it covers any losses that we took when we were raising the cow and getting it its shots and food and water and all that stuff.
mhm,
So
right.
we essentially just get a free cow for meat
Yeah.
out of it, you know?
And I just want to quickly note to anybody that's listening that might be thinking like, oh my God, like you kill your own cows, like you raise your own meat and you eat meat yourself. You need to understand that these cows that Aiden and like myself have and so many other farmers have done, this meat 99.9% of the time is raised like kings. These
Yeah.
cows are like have the best lives leading up to the very like, calm and non-painful way of like going off.
Yeah, these
Like
cows,
like you guys, I just want to emphasize that it is very, very heavily maintained that we, are very ethical towards our livestock and very kind. And we establish relationships with them. Like when you're eating it, any animal that you've, like raised, it's a different, you appreciate what you're doing a lot more. It's a much different experience. Eating food to me is one of Homo sapiens, one of our like greatest human accesses. One thing that we can do differently than any other species, our ability to manipulate and eat food certain ways and have a connection with it. But just on that note, sorry, go ahead.
no, I was just gonna agree with you that those cows have an amazing life, you know? Because you think about like industrial farming and stuff, they're in a little stall that's too
Yep.
small for them. They're artificially inseminated all the time so that they constantly produce milk and more cows to be, raised in a stall. Or these guys, they get to go outside and they get to this whole huge 10-acre lot that they can go and graze all over. They play with the dogs, they play with the chickens, you know.
And
Um,
like, when do you like? People probably don't know this, but Aiden, like, on your farm, your cows are jumping around like day in day
oh
out,
yeah,
excited and having it.
I'll pull up
Like
I'll pull up
cows,
my
like,
mom's Instagram because
yeah.
yeah, they
And
just they're like
as I said
dogs,
earlier,
you know,
yeah,
which might be
they're
disturbing to
like
some people, but
they're just big, like 700-pound dogs. But on that, like I was saying, like if you're a person that eats meat and you're kind of thinking this is strange that you raised and kill your own meat yourself, uh, you just need to understand where your meat's coming from. If you've ever eaten a steak before, I guarantee you that came from like one of 99 cows that was in a friggin' 100-foot row.
yeah,
There's only 2 feet on either side, so 200-foot row. But you know what I'm trying to say. It's terrible. I had one of my cousins, her ex partner now. Um, he ran like a very, very big cow farm. He would like source meat and dairy from them, and I saw the way that the cows were, kept. In no way, shape, or form is it ethical. So if you're bagging on anybody raising their own meat on a small scale, don't do it if you've eaten meat because that'd be so hypocritical.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I was gonna say,
I'm ranting. I'm ranting.
of all the people with annoying dietary concerns, the vegetarians and the vegans at least make sense because they're like straight up like, this is a animal that, acts like a dog. You wouldn't eat your dog.
Hmm.
And I'm like, yeah, that's fair. Like I'm never gonna be
Did you hear that?
vegetarian or vegan, but like, yeah, I get it. You
Did
know.
you? Did you? Here's my statement to vegans. Did you see the one of many statements? Did you see the study that came out that suggested or didn't suggest, like actually proved 43% are vegans. If you are vegan and you keep to that, schedule, you're 43% more likely to sustain bone fractures, calcium
I did see that.
deficiencies.
Yeah.
I
Because people don't know how to
think
do
Joe. I
that,
think Joe
right?
Rogan posted that. Right. They
There
don't
was
understand the balance.
there was a whole, I think it was a South Park where the fattest kid in school was a vegan. Just
Yeah.
because like it's hard to have a balanced diet when you're inherently unbalancing it.
Right. When also like you can have any mental understanding towards what you consume. Like you can have whatever you want, but you need to understand like genetically our human history, like one of the reasons we've been able to, friggin' develop our bodies and brains to the extent that we have over the last friggin', 1,000 years. It's because we had massive consumptions of proteins
Hmm.
in meat. And there's the arguments of, like certain developments of our teeth show that we are actually never even supposed to eat meat. We were never supposed to eat hot food either. We were supposed to have fire.
Something like
Depends on
our
what
our
time you want to look
brain
at, it's just
consumes some stupid number of calories too a day. So
correct, yeah.
I think like the fact that we have big brain energy is
Yeah.
from eating that cow. So
Yeah, man. It's from eating that freaking wild ibex that's running around at
my
40
other
miles per
thing
hour,
my other thing with
9 feet high.
vegans is okay, let's say tomorrow a law is passed that you can't eat cow, chicken, or pig anymore. What
Mhm.
happens to all those? What happens to all those cows, chickens, and pigs that are running around the country? You know,
Yeah, true,
you
true,
know, because
true.
they've had all of their survival instincts bred out of them. Like
Oh
our
yeah,
cows are like some of the stupidest animals I've ever encountered. Like they're just
yeah.
dumb. You know, like they're cute, they are playful, but they are dumb. Uh, so like, what do you do with them? Like, it's not profitable for the farms to keep them around as pets when nobody can eat them, nobody can
Right.
drink their milk. You know,
Yeah. That's actually a
like
really good
like
point. Just
effectively,
the,
you'd be condemning them to living in a zoo for people to point and be like, hey, we used to eat those. You know, like that'd
that's
be
actually a really
the
good
cow's
point.
entire existence because they cannot survive in the wild.
I never really like kind of conceptualized the thought of their like predator, not predator, sorry, their prey instincts just kind of bred out of them. Like that's actually a really good point.
Yeah.
It's a really good point. Yeah, you kind of got me thinking about that. um, do you think people should raise slash hunt their own meat more often, or more people should?
Yeah, I
What
don't
do
know
you
about
think?
hunting because I think it's kind of a delicate balance, right? So I know
Right.
in Saskatchewan at one point when I was back, they were just giving out hunting licenses because the wolf population was low, so the deer population was crazy out of control.
Yeah.
Which is, yeah, it's a good solution. It's just give people hunting licenses, fixes your problem. People stop dying in car accidents, right? From a deer running across the
Yeah.
road. Um, but I think in, heavily populated areas of Ontario, just, white-tailed deer or whatever just go extinct, like
Yeah. And that is the hole in my position on it too, just wanting people to do like hunting their own meat more often. That is like the biggest hole in that stance because we're a freaking massive population, man.
I
We're a
think
massive population.
I think a better approach would be to raise your own things and then specialize and trade within your community, Like
Yeah,
we do eggs and beef and plants and whatever, and people from around Stittsville come and buy from us, and then we could turn around and buy. I don't know what else. What else is there that we already don't do?
yeah.
A
Honestly,
little bit
not too
difficult,
much.
but
Not too much. Yeah,
you know what I mean, right? Like
yeah.
just like support your
No, I
community, do buy local. And I don't mean buy local from Metro or Loblaws or whatever. Like go out to the farm and give it right to the guy.
yeah. Just go to some dirt roads. I guarantee you, if you're driving 5 minutes on almost any dirt road, you'll see some sign with
Yeah,
some black paint on it saying onions or
yeah.
potatoes.
Corn,
Yeah,
corn's a big one.
yeah.
That's how we used to always get our corn was because it tastes better.
That's so self-sustaining as well. Because if you have one property that's putting out enough food to feed four, but you're not giving four other properties that amount of food, and those four properties are also putting out amount of foods that can, you know what I mean? It's a very, very self-sustaining way of consumerism in terms of food,
Yeah.
I think.
And then there's no like
Do you think?
middleman effect, right? But
Yeah,
I
yeah.
guess, that's never going to happen because our society seems to value convenience over everything else, right? And I'm
Oh my,
guilty of that
yeah.
too. Like
Especially, yeah, me
I'll go
too.
to Walmart because I can just go to Walmart, you know?
Yep. And this is the thing, like everybody can talk, about the level of friggin' integrity and ethics that come with eating and consuming, but we're both guilty of doing, at least to some extent, consuming on the bad end,
Yeah.
if I can say that. Yeah. So like, why? Let's just. I think we should talk about, like, in general, why do farmers specifically use GMOs?
Okay.
So just like a few various reasons. So like certain farmers will select certain GMOs for various reasons, like reducing yield loss or crop damage from weeds, diseases, insects as well. Insects are a big one. Extreme weather conditions, so they can actually, like, change the genetic makeup for a certain plant to be able to withstand different climates than it would usually do in its native land. But like drought is a huge one as well. farmers may choose to use GMOs in order to reduce costs and the impact of agriculture on their environment. They also choose GMO seeds to save a crop, which has happened, which is what happened with a cool story with the papaya plant from Hawaii that was threatened by disease. So the papaya plant native to Hawaii is like pretty much went extinct and is like re-genetically engineered as like a new plant. It's pretty much like a completely new thing from what our papaya was before GMOs got to them.
I have a fun fact.
Yeah, go for it.
So you know banana candy?
Yes, like
Like
those
just
little like the kind of powder ones
yeah, or
looking.
even like banana additive that you put in your milk and it makes it like banana milk or whatever. You ever notice that it tastes
Oh,
nothing like bananas?
yeah,
That's because
potassium.
that flavor is based off of the banana that the world used to eat up until the 1950s, when there was a disease that wiped out the entire that plant is just extinct now. So the banana that we eat
Are you
today
serious?
is a different breed of banana, and it is sterile. So every banana is genetically identical because the only way to like make new banana trees is to like chop off part of the tree and plant it and wait for it to grow or whatever.
Clone
Like
it.
actually there's a word for it.
Cloning.
Cloning, yeah, but there's another word for it. Grafting.
Oh yes, yes.
Yeah.
Lila uses that. Too. That's the more scientific term.
Yeah.
I used kind of like a, like a Cheech and Chong term there.
No, I
Um.
think cloning is the more scientific term, you know?
Oh, is
I'm just
is
looking
it? All
I'm
right.
just looking at my hair here. I look like Will Ferrell's character in Zoolander.
Oh, dude, we both look like. Look at this. I look like Justin Bieber from Believe, like
Yeah.
that friggin' documentary, man. Um. Yeah. So like, there's a lot of pushback towards the use of GMOs, and a lot of pushback is coming from people that don't have the full knowledge or the needed knowledge to actually be able to hold a valid opinion. But like a lot of the pushback has to do with massive corporations utilizing the GMO use in smaller scale farms. Um, so like many food companies are like trying to play to a larger part of society's kind of switch in touting like GMO free on their labels and consumer products. But people like don't understand that GMO free is specific to GMO. There's different variations of excuse me of GMOs that they can like just wordplay. You know what I mean? Like can make people really think that there's no GMOs added at all, but it's actually only a GMO specific to this specific like this actual type that is harmful in this way. There's different GMOs that they don't have to actually say that for or put labels on their packaging for.
Okay, here's
So
a
it's a lot of pushback regarding that type of
Cheech and
stuff.
Chong mind blow moment for you, okay?
Yes, please. You've
So
already given me one with the friggin' bananas.
what is the first GMO? Because you talk about
Mm.
broccoli, kale, spinach, I think, a couple other things. They're all genetically identical. It's just that different peoples from around the world selectively bred them to have accentuate different traits.
Bonsai trees. They're a
What?
GMO and natural.
What?
Bonsai trees, I was just thinking.
Okay,
Bonsai
sure.
trees are GMO.
Yeah.
Bonsai trees are genetically altered plants that are like genetically altered to be smaller,
And then
but
what about
they have
dogs?
yeah.
I don't mean to be like Soviet
What about
whataboutism,
cats? What about cats?
like,
True.
you know,
Big cat.
Republican Fox News, what about, but like that's a valid point, right? Like
That was funny.
if
No,
no, but like I'm serious, like if, over thousands of years we've modified some, little bush into being broccoli and kale and all these other things, like
right.
what's wrong with just doing it at a faster scale,
Yeah.
Because I'm sure some of that
Yeah.
too was like cross pollination and stuff, right? Like you would
Oh, it had to be.
pollinate, the plant with the pollen from another plant. That's straight up genetic alteration, right?
I that like you saying all that kind of is making me like think what's the actual line, like ethical line, I guess you could say, or a line of like real influence towards like could a GMO be considered me overfeeding like force feeding a chicken to make it fatter? Could that technically be a version of like GMO use. Do you know what I mean? Because
So
if you were to source those new genetics of that fat and make it like a consistency in the further lineage of that genetic line, then it could be considered an actual modern day GMO. But for that one specific specimen,
so
is
here's
it
what
a
I'm going to
GMO?
say about that. So
Do you know what I'm saying though?
yeah, I
Yeah.
know what you're saying. So there's these things in genetics called epigenetics, right? So all this is just coming from like SciShow and what's the smart people one? Smarter Every Day and all that stuff, like the YouTube.
Yeah.
It's okay to be smart, like those YouTube channels.
Yeah.
So there's these on genetic code, the DNA. There's these little markers that go along called epigenetics, and those are kind of they change. They're essentially like brackets, right? So
Hmm.
as you go through your life, these tags are added, and these brackets are put around, like saying like, okay, emphasize this aspect of the genes, and de-emphasize this aspect of the genes, and da 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 da. So what they found is that those markers, those tags, are carried forward through generations. So if you have two identical twins, and one of them goes
Hmm.
off, lives in a carnival, and eats nothing but hot dogs, and goes to bed every day at 4 a.m. and is up at 6 a.m., and then the other one goes to nice boarding school where he's fed spinach and all this nice stuff. One is 6'5" and the other one's 5'2" by the time they're
Right.
adults. And then you breed them for a couple generations. You find the generations that carries through. That the boarding school twin, his kids are his grandchildren are taller, and then the other guy they're short. So
Right.
we're bringing that around to your chicken thing. Like it's totally possible that if you force fed a chicken to the point where it was so fat, those epigenetic tags would change, and then previous future generations of the chicken would be fatter. It's not quite the same as genetic modification because that's like
Right.
altering the code, where this you're altering which part of the codes show up. And
Over
eventually
a longer period of time as well.
a shorter period of time. So it's
Shorter period for.
because with genetic code, that's everything down the line future. Where with
Yeah.
the chicken that's fat, it could just be the next 3 or 4 generations that are fat before the epigenetic tags go
Gotcha.
away. You know.
Right. Right.
But that can
Mhm.
change a lot of things. Like if your dad or grandpa was a smoker, then that that can change on your epigenetics. You could be more predisposed to smoking.
Hmm. Same thing with a lot of like drug addictions in certain families, like alcohol,
Yeah,
being an alcoholic. That yeah, 100%.
but there's a lot of research
Um,
that shows that that's tied to epigenetics.
very interesting.
Yeah. The
Epigenetics.
the way that I was explained it or whatever on YouTube was it's kind of like the metadata. So when you have an MP3
Right.
file, the data is the sound, right? The metadata
Hmm.
is title, track number, artist, and then the image, that goes with it. So it's the data about the data. Like epigenetics is the genetic data about the genetic data, and that
Right.
can go
I
forward.
I wonder why we've always seemed to, like this data always seems to be altered to fit certain, needs or agendas of our human nature. Just like larger fat or more fat on certain chickens or more muscle on certain animals to, create a greater food yield for our personal benefit. But I wonder when or if we have started already now, like when it's going to be, like efficient, but just in terms of genetic modification for enhancing our day-to-day physiology, not our day-to-day physiology, but our actual
That, my
physiology.
friend, is eugenics.
Yes. So that's kind of what I guess I'm leaning towards now. When do you think we're going to start seeing that come out publicly? Use in
I think in
terms
the
of like,
next 10 years there will be developments in it where, you know, maybe they can change the genes of the kid in utero, and then, that'll be a
mhm.
big worldwide phenomenon. A bunch of regulation will be written and stuff. There's a couple good
But
movies
then,
about this.
sorry, yeah,
There's one called Gattaca that's about
okay,
one of the very few people who was born the natural way, and he has a heart condition, and he essentially has to live as a refugee. Like he steals the identity of someone who was genetically modified so that he can live a normal life because
Oh,
nobody will hire him.
damn.
And then there's another one
That's pretty
called
intense.
Idiocracy, which is kind of the opposite idea. Essentially, the movie starts out with a montage where it's this couple who's like Harvard educated and they're holding hands and they're like, we're waiting to have a kid until we're financially stable, and then they eventually break up or whatever. And that's intercut with the redneck who is just screwing everything in sight, right? Like
Yeah,
in his trailer
yeah,
park, and it shows like the
yeah,
shows the family tree. So the family tree for the couple is just the two, and then the family tree for the redneck is like this huge thing. Anyways,
yeah.
fast forward 500 years, everyone's just an idiot. So at the beginning of the
Oh
movie, they
no.
put the most average man in America in cryostasis for 1 year to test the machine for cryostasis, and then they forget about it. So he wakes up in 500 years, and he's the smartest person in the world by an order of magnitude.
Oh my God.
It's a
Dude, that actually sounds
it's a
that sounds good. I kind of want to watch
it's a
that.
funny movie. I have it on Plex, but it's got Terry Crews, it's got Owen Wilson's brother.
No way.
Terry Crews plays the president who used to be a wrestler. And this movie came out in 2006 before Donald Trump, who was also a wrestler.
Oh my God,
So
man.
it's
That's
kind of
like the Simpson
uncannily
prediction.
true, you
That's
know?
so weird. That's so weird.
Yeah.
I just wanted to say something quick to your point about like genetic modification and GMOs. Like in terms of like that specific example from the movie of him being the only one born with like a heart dysfunction or whatever. Um, when our genetic modification and changing starts to affect people's, and this is sad to say, natural selection is going to be weaned out even like more than it is now. So our use and need of GMOs within our food products are going to be alongside our genetic modification going to be increased in terms of need. You know what I mean? So it seems like it's just a vicious cycle: genetic modification and GMO use within, you know, freaking food.
Well, and it's especially
It's
like
it's
as
going
we
to be
change our
a
planet,
radical.
like people
Yeah.
want, oh, natural, it shouldn't be genetically modified. Well, if the plant can't live where it's 5 degrees hotter than it used to be, 30
What do
years
we?
ago, then what are you going to do?
Yeah.
You know?
People say that without the notion and understanding of how much we've actually terraformed this earth, like in the last 10 years or the last 20 years compared to the last 400.
Yeah.
It's yeah, people are silly sometimes.
Someone called
um,
Muju just put 3 eggplant emojis.
hey,
Thanks,
Muju
Muju.
with the yeah. Do you like eggplant?
I don't know.
No, Muju, can you comment like what a good recipe with eggplant is on the in the comment section if you're
Wonder
so
who
heavy on
Muju
eggplant?
is. They've got that those
Yeah.
like cursed comics as their icon. The ones that are just really disturbing, where like the
Yeah,
guys are all
yeah,
really
those.
happy and but they're like stabbing each other and
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Uh,
I don't know if I've ever had
do
eggplant,
you?
dude.
Yeah, I don't. I
I feel like
think.
my dad might have snuck it in something on me, but
Yeah, I feel like I've had it thinking that it was like a beet or something. You know?
yeah, or just like a really
Yeah.
flavorless
Honestly,
onion.
they're just kind of a
Muju
meme.
says raw,
Eggplant, I'd
baby.
say. Raw.
I wonder who Muju
I
is.
think I think I walked. I feel like it's like Rami or something. I feel like I walked into that one honestly,
Yeah.
asking them to tell us a recipe.
Muju, who are
Raw.
you?
That was so good. That's the best comment and response ever.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. Would you ever like consider going vegetarian?
No.
Just a random question.
No,
No.
I like
Why?
eating cow too much.
Me too.
I
Meat is
think the
so
solution
good.
might be like lab grown meat, you know? Like if you can just make meat on a production line,
Hmm.
that solves all the problems, right?
Did we ever eat when we were driving for work? Did we ever eat one of those plant-based burgers? Did we ever try one of those? Have you tried one? Can you hear me?
No, I didn't. Did you? We talked about that.
No, no. I think, yeah, but yeah, I want to try it. I don't know if I have. I think I have. There's like so many different kinds. Because like Tim Hortons does one, friggin' Wendy's did one. You can buy them now. I want to try buying some from an actual Costco.
Yeah.
And yeah,
Muju
did
says Cam
eggplant? Yeah.
LOL. So that either means he's talking about a camera or he's Cam Cummins.
If it's Cam Cummins watching this show right now at 10:55, Cam, get on God, and I'll see you soon. JK, I have so much work to do today.
Yeah.
Oh man, yeah. Well, that wouldn't be surprised. Shout out Cam Cummins. Shout out the Cummins boys. Yeah, if that's who they are. If it is Cam, I'm trying to think. It wouldn't have another Cam that it would be, unless it's Cam last. No, I don't know.
Mhm.
Sorry.
I was gonna say, uh, my mom's obsessed with this guy Richard Perkins, and I just want to get it in writing. Okay.
Okay.
So
Okay.
she's that's how much she's based her farm off of is this guy's methodology, right? So it's all this kind of regenerative, holistic, like the poop from the chickens feeds the plants that feed the
Oh,
chickens type of thing.
does he have a documentary on Netflix?
No.
I think. Oh no. Okay. Sorry. I thought my parents looked into him as well. My apologies. Continue.
Muju says, yeah, it's me. Hop on it, caught after.
No, I
Anyways,
cannot.
so the guy that she reads about is Richard Perkins, and he's got a couple
Yeah.
books and stuff like that. She bought herself a book a little while back of his. Anyways, I'm like, okay, what do I get my mom for Christmas? So I'm like, oh, this guy teaches classes. I'll get her one of these Zoom classes. Guess how much
Yeah.
money this guy wants for one of his Zoom lectures?
How much?
I think it was 1,999 euro.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And
For
I'm like,
a
no. Sorry, Mom. Tried. Could not do that.
how long would that have been?
I think it's long. I think it's like a 4-week course.
I'm not paying $1,000 for a four. I'm
That's
sorry.
$2,000.
That's in
That's over like
two
probably like
grand.
$3,000 Canadian.
See, I couldn't even let my brain. I didn't even want my brain to process that because like that. No, I hate it. When I was, dude, euros and pounds, I hate it. I hate the exchange rate. I hate when I would go to England. I hate freaking. I just hate pounds and euros. I can't do it.
I think for
Can't do it.
me, the one that sucks is American dollars. Because you'll be
Yeah,
watching a YouTube video and they're like, this is 1999 American. And I'm like, hey, what's
yeah.
that Canadian? It's like $36. And I'm like, well, I'd not pay $36 for that, It's just like
Yeah.
a punch in the pants because you're on a website and it's like, oh, $199 for this awesome thing, and I'm like, sweet, and then I go to the checkout and it's like 360 or something like that, and I'm like, nope, never mind.
Yeah. Man, isn't there like a setting you can put on Amazon that'll like only do Canadian currency
Yeah,
pricing
but
for everything?
that's assuming you literally all of your online shopping on Amazon, right?
Yeah, very good point.
Because Amazon doesn't carry everything, and it's not always the best place in terms of price too.
Based on the national slash world unity that could result as a like could result from our genetic mutation and GMO use further down the year or further down the line, maybe 100 years, in the future. Do you think that we will be like, globally united on the basis of something like this?
I hope
It's
not,
on the
man.
basis
That sounds
of,
like some Nazi shit.
do you think that one global currency would be better than having
Bitcoin.
multiple currencies? Yeah, dude.
I'm just
Yeah.
kidding. Not Bitcoin. Bitcoin
I'm trying
sucks.
to bring the anarchist out of you. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Yeah. Yeah. The political anarchy. Cam would know a little bit about that for sure. Definitely.
All right, buddy. 10:59.
Yeah. 10:59. Everybody, thank you so much for listening. Sorry for our. We're both Aiden and I are in the stretch of our of our last bit of semester. We're in the friggin' thick of not exams, but thick of final productions. We appreciate you and all the time that you've given us. Sorry for the consistent yawning. Yeah, we love you guys. Love our listeners. Shout out Cam
Stay
for throwing in
safe.
that comment section.
Obey your government
Stay
for
safe,
lockdowns.
everybody.
It's for everyone's safety. All right.
Yeah, eat healthy, work out a little bit, body weight resistance, push-ups and sit-ups. Stay fit. Stay
Shout
safe.
out Cam
Keep your lungs
Cummins,
healthy.
Muju, Eggplant.
Yeah. Shout out the Bell family farm as always.
Yeah.
Shout out Grandpa Bell, and everybody on that side. And shout out my mom, Rosanna and Spencer, my little brother Ethan, and my grandma Nona. Love y'all.